Brodes Media.
Wow, what a game. Wow, what a game. Before we dive into the action, I want to thank everybody who tuned in to 97.5 The Fanatic after the Sixers game was over. I had a ton of fun. I was on for about 3.5 hours doing the post-game show, so we got the instant reactions, people leaving the stadium. It was a tremendous time. Second, on my Twitter, at Brodes81, I'm currently running a giveaway where you have the chance to win a Ben Simmons City Edition jersey. Pinned to the top of my profile, it explains the rules. Follow me, follow my other account at Brodes Media, and retweet the tweet. Every Wednesday, a new giveaway is available, and I will announce the winner to the previous giveaway. So be engaged, don't be a fool. Lastly, make sure you smash that subscribe button if you are new to the channel, and also the like button as well. I greatly appreciate all the support. It has been an awesome ride, and I can't wait to continue to grow with all of you. All right, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. Well, the Sixers win Game 1. It wasn't the smoothest. I would label it as choppy. They faced adversity, but I don't give a damn how it happens as long as they secure the victory. And it honestly makes sense that it played out this way. One team was fighting for its life in a play-in round, and the other squad had a bunch of practices waiting to play. So I'm not surprised that the Sixers came out of the gate struggling to shoot from three. They were 1 for 11 at one point, and then by halftime it was about 3 of 17. And then what do you know? After Tobias Harris has an insane effort, drops 28 points in the first half, attacks the rim, exploits the mismatch, a dog, if you will. After that happened, Joel Embiid took care of his business in the second half. Now, he was in all sorts of foul trouble. I did not love the lack of usage of the challenge. If you're Doc Rivers, you probably could have used it after the second foul. I can understand not using it on the second foul. I didn't love it, but I can understand it. The third one was a no-brainer to use, and he didn't. He wasted it all the way at the end on probably the worst challenge you possibly could have utilized it with. I think when you look at this team, though, and this game, and you analyze it, everyone had a role, and they effectively completed their role, except for Ben Simmons offensively. I'll get more into that as we continue. He did so many other strong things, though. 15 assists is no joke. 15 assists is unreal, and he was finding his teammates defensively. We know that he's a workhorse in that area, and then he grabbed a lot of rebounds as well, plus 8 offensive boards. That's magnificent. Put back dunks, brought the energy in that spot. So I like what Ben Simmons did in all the areas. I did not love the 0 for 6 from the free throw line, and specifically later in the game, you were afraid to put the ball in his hands, so much so that your 7'2" center was doing dribble penetration moves, dribbling the ball off of his foot. It's going out of bounds. Then here come the Wizards the other way. Ben Simmons was a problem late in the game because the team was afraid to put the rock in their primary ball handler's hands because he has an issue and he is a garbage free throw shooter. That matters. That does matter. So does the 15 assists. So does the 15 rebounds, 8 of those being on the offensive side of the glass. So does the defense on Bradley Beal, even though Bradley Beal did score some points and he was working hard. They also played a lot of minutes. I think one of the X factors in this series after seeing Game 1, realizing that, okay, Russell Westbrook had to play 43 minutes and Bradley Beal had to play 41 minutes. Let's talk about Game 3. Let's talk about Game 4. After a long period of time and after a bunch of games, that's going to wear on their body. It's wear and tear. On top of Bradley Beal already entering this series with a lingering hamstring injury. And I thought this was the game where the Wizards could have punched them in the mouth. They almost did. There was a moment in the third quarter where Bradley Beal drilled a shot. The Sixers were down, and he made a gesture towards the fans, and he was celebrating, and he was talking smack, and he was bringing that noise and bringing that juice for the Wizards. And I thought, uh-oh. I wasn't nervous, but there was a moment of, hey, this might be the game, because I think the Wizards find a way to win one game. I did not think it was going to be game one. I thought the atmosphere was going to be too loud. I thought the 10,000, 11,000 fans were just going to be so damn obnoxious. There's a reason why we look at the Wells Fargo Center as a place that you don't want to play if you're an opposing team. We're brutal. We're harsh. And you felt that, especially in the third quarter when Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris all had monster threes, and you heard Mark Zumov's call, yes! And then he just stayed quiet and allowed the fans to somewhat fill the noise and fill that silence. I had the goosebumps, and I'm not going to lie to you, I actually had tears running down my face because I missed that so damn much, and because I recognized in that moment, okay, that's all she wrote. Okay, the Sixers are about to put this away. Joel Embiid had 13 points in the third quarter. Joel Embiid was making mid-range shots in that fourth quarter, and it wasn't the same exact way as what we used to see out of J.J. Redick, but remember when J.J. Redick would take a dribble handoff and he'd be in the corner and he fades to the right and his body is somewhat almost out of bounds, but he still has perfect form and his shoulders end up being square. It wasn't the same level of that from J.J. Redick. Joel Embiid, I'm bringing up Joel Embiid because he took a couple mid-range jumpers and he's somewhat fading and rolling to his right as he takes those with the fadeaway form. And it just reminded me, not exactly of J.J., but it had that taste to it. And it's just so damn ridiculous that your 7'2 center is playing that way. He had 30 points. Unreal, but Tobias Harris, to me, star of the show, finished with 37, 28 in the first half. I knew that Tobias would be stronger. In no way, shape, or form would I ever think that version of Tobias Harris was what you were going to witness in a playoff game. Good for him. There was a lot of noise surrounding him last season. There was a lot of drama and a lot of people pissed off and a lot of fans that despised Tobias Harris and what he brought to this team, and deservedly so to an extent because he did not execute. He did not perform at a high level. This is way more than I ever would have anticipated. Even the best of what I thought Tobias Harris could be, it would not be almost 30 points in the first half of a playoff game. So I do need to tip my cap. It is pretty damn funny, though, because early in the game, I'm watching Alex Len try and run the offense for the Wizards. He's throwing hook shots. It's not even close. I'm watching Russell Westbrook try and kiss the ball off the glass. It's not even close, and I'm pissing myself laughing because that's not going to work. You're telling me you're trying to score points utilizing Alex Len? That's not going to work. Alex Len won't work. Anything they want to do. Lopez won't work. Good luck trying to stop the big man. The only reason why the Sixers were in that wonky stage throughout the second and third quarter is because the big man got into foul trouble, which was asinine because a lot of those calls were just a joke. Maybe the refs have to get accustomed to playoff basketball, but you got to let the fellas play. All right, you allow more to get played on the floor in the postseason than the regular season. None of this ticky-tack stuff. Joel's not even touching them. He's putting his hands up, and their bodies are flying towards the rim, pretending that there was contact when there was no contact. Come on, Doc. You got to utilize one of your challenges in that moment because instead you have to go to your bench. And you saw not an all-bench lineup early, but it was 4 bench players and Tobias Harris. That lineup was outscored 10-0. So as soon as Ben and Joel end up leaving the floor, you bring in your bench players. You keep Tobias out there who, you know, he was great, but in those specific moments, he had a tough time. Shake Milton was dreadful then. Your boy Furkan Korkmaz was dreadful then. And he had wide open looks. He was just not able to actually shoot the ball confidently. His first shot was god-awful. I mean, that was way left of the rim, and it almost got just all backboard. It ended up, if I remember correctly, it did end up maybe just nicking that outside part of the left side of the rim, but ultimately it was garbage from Furkan in his 5 minutes of play. You go to the bench because you're forced to with all these personal fouls, and what do you know, the Sixers start giving up solid play, and the Wizards take it for a ride. To start the game, you had Ben Simmons on Beal, Danny Green on Russell Westbrook. I have no problem with that, even though Bradley Beal did get his putting your best defender on Bradley Beal is the best way to approach this. I could live, if the Washington Wizards went with this mentality, we'll live and die with Russell Westbrook taking a lot of shots and being the high-volume shooter. I'll take that any day of the week because he's not very efficient. No matter what the stats say after the game, how many assists he's just not an efficient guy. I'll live and die with him taking threes. I'll live and die with him taking some of these ugly-looking shots. I'm okay with that. Not that that's how it was all the time. You saw Matisse Thybulle. He was active. He got a couple steals, a couple blocks in about 14 minutes of play, which is a good number of minutes for him. You went deep into the bench, and Doc mentioned he wanted 11. You ended up getting 11. Tyrese got 7 minutes of play, and he had one really beautiful take to the basket for his only bucket of the night. But that was a nice moment for him to get a taste of what playoff basketball is all about. Yeah, Dwight Howard, who I thought, struggled a little bit. If you look at his plus minus, it's not beautiful. So, you could probably get away with the Dwight Howard usage at this time with this team, but I don't think he was his sharpest. He definitely wasn't his sharpest. You went with him. You went with Tyrese. You had Shake Milton. You had Furkan Korkmaz. George Hill. George Hill somewhat flies underneath the radar, I think, with today's effort. I'm just saying, majority of the talk is going to be what? Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Ben Simmons. And Seth Curry, who left the game injured. I don't know what happened. Did he get hit in the midsection? Did he get hit in the balls? He went back to the tunnel. He went back to the locker room. And then he came out for the third quarter and absolutely exploded. And that's what he can do. He can be quiet for a little bit of time, and he can have some ugly stretches. And then before you know it, you snap your fingers, and it's a barrage of threes. And it's a turning point of the game because the momentum in the Wells Fargo Center was erupting, and the team just started to grab a bunch of confidence for sure. I want to go to George Hill's stat line because I think George Hill, he had such an underrated game, kind of flies under the radar, but it mattered. And it was something that, when Daryl Morey makes the move to get George Hill, I think today basically showed you what that veteran presence can do. Nothing overwhelming, nothing extreme, solid though. The little things were done the right way. In 18 minutes, he was 5 of 8 from the field. He had one huge three-pointer, and he finished with 11 points. He had 2 assists on top of that as well. So I was just proud of George Hill. And there was one more name I think I was forgetting with the 11. It is 11, right? 6 was Dwight Howard, 7 Maxey, 8 Matisse Thybulle, 9 Milton, 10 Furkan, 11 George Hill. So Milton did get extra run when they went all bench in the fourth, and he wasn't as bad in that stretch as he was in the beginning. I just never know what you're going to get out of Shake Milton, and I think you saw this for a reason. A lot of it had to do with some foul problems as well, but I think Doc Rivers wants to go deep into his bench as they play teams like this because he can get away with it. And I did mention how many minutes their 2 stars played, over 40 for both of them. Joel Embiid, 30 minutes. Danny Green, 31. Seth Curry, 32. Tobias and Ben both played a lot. Now, Ben Simmons played 38, but Ben's that type of guy that's a high motor, high energy. It doesn't matter. Ben can play 42, 43, 44, come back the next night and give you 39. I mean, he just has that type of endurance and that level of conditioning, which makes Ben Simmons very special. So let's talk about him a little bit further, all right? Because here's a hot item after tonight's game. It's not so much the 6 points that bother me. 15 is extreme. That's an extreme amount of assists. It's not like he gave you 8 assists and 6 points. If he gave you 10 assists and 14 points, is that the same? Does it really matter where it's coming from? And the answer is no. It doesn't really matter. So because it was 15 assists and not so much 7, 8, or 9, which is a more common number for Ben Simmons to get, it's not really about the points, but it's about what happened late that bothered me. It's the fact that he goes 0 for 6 from the line, and when your team has a point guard and you can't use your point guard in the fourth quarter down the stretch in crucial moments because you don't want him to get fouled and because you know the other team has the advantage when that happens, and he's your guy that's supposed to set up your offense. He's supposed to calm everything down, it bothers me that we're still at the point where the best thing for this team is to take Ben off the floor late in games. And I know it's nice to have a George Hill acquisition, and that's something that can be beneficial for this team, but that still upsets me, where I'm watching Joel Embiid turn the ball over off of his foot because you're trying to dribble drive and dribble penetrate and just attack the rim with your 7-2 guy out from the perimeter and exploding towards the rim because we got to get Ben Simmons away from the ball as much as possible. I don't know why that's so hard to understand, or I don't know why that's so hard to properly analyze. You can get away with the Washington Wizards with this happening. And that doesn't devalue what he did. He played awesome defense. He made really nice passes. That pass to George Hill, where it was in slow motion during the broadcast as it was going to commercial, and George Hill was cutting back doors, sort of like he was actually running a football route, and Ben Simmons was the quarterback. Not everybody can make that pass. Not everybody can make that play. That's what makes Ben Simmons so unique. So this is what is amazing out of him. Passes, rebounding, offensive side of the glass, defense. All three of those, A+. Foul line, getting to the foul line. Late game situations, F-. Both can be true. I'm not supposed to just feel 100% satisfied because he did 85% of his job. There was 15% of his job that slowed down this team late, and one of the reasons why it was a bit sloppy towards the end. Yeah, that Russell Wilson, I was talking about quarterbacks. Russell Westbrook weird play where he stepped out of bounds. Did he not step out of bounds? His heel came up. Did it not come up? I don't know. I don't know what happened. You know, with the replay, my eyes told me that it probably still should have been Washington's ball. Did you have enough evidence to overturn it? Probably not. It was super close, and I don't think it was the difference in that game by any means. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think part of the reason why things were so brutal in that late stretch was because of Ben Simmons. I'll tell you where this team does struggle, though, and it's not going to get fixed, and that's the problem. So it just depends on if this team as a unit can make up for this problem, and it's their transition defense. Their transition defense, especially in that first half, it was garbage. I'm watching this team, and this team's good at it. This team wants to run the ball. They want to run the floor. You can tell as soon as they grab a rebound, it's go, 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 full speed. That's what Russell Westbrook wants to do. That's what Bradley Beal wants to do. Let's explode, and let's get up and down the floor because that's one of the issues with this Sixers team. And a lot of squads you're going to see, basically every team from this point moving on is going to try to exploit that because, well, that's an advantage for you. If you're on the other side, that's an advantage for you. So why not? I think it got better in moments, but there were still some ugly ones. The Wizards, they do that well. They have an efficient pace to their game. What bothers me there, though, is that means the Wizards dictated pace more than I would have liked them to dictate the pace. I'm not worried about this series because of it, but I would like for the Sixers to take control more. If you're telling me it's moving up and down at that rate, well, that's because then the Wizards are kind of accomplishing their goal, and this should be more of the Sixers accomplishing their goal. The Sixers should be playing the way that they want to play, and at times I felt that, well, they had to get back, and they had to keep getting back, and they kept getting toasted. There'd possibly be easy layups. Now, is it going to be the same way if Joel doesn't pick up a third foul with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter? Probably not. You're going to see Joel Embiid in the paint, and you're going to see the big man back. And, you saw some easy layups involved when he was off the floor, when Dwight Howard was playing center. That's not necessarily going to be the case with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. So, Joel's got to play a bit. If this is going to be the way that the game's officiated, I guess I should say, Joel's going to have to adjust to that, even though I didn't really see him do anything wrong with those second and third fouls. He was swinging his body. Are they trying to say he threw his elbow up to get leverage for that one basket where he was called for the offensive foul? I don't know. That's egregious if that's the case. And then for that third one, he was nowhere even close to touching the driver. He put his hands up, and it was more of the body motion going to the rim that made it seem like there was more body contact than there actually was. So, yeah, I thought that third quarter was very big. The Toby, Danny, Seth barrage of three. And, yeah, the Tobias Harris. For your superstar in Joel to have to sit on the bench, someone needed to step up. And who was it going to be? Someone needed to hold it afloat. And if Tobias, let's say Tobias, instead of 28 in the first quarter, had 22, you could be talking about a different outcome in that second half. You could be talking about a different third quarter. That could set you up differently. You were down 1 at the half. You were down points in that moment. If Toby had 22, which is still a really strong first half, think about that. 22 points after 24 minutes, that's not easy to do. That's hard. But he was picking his spots. That was one of my storylines heading into this game was the Tobias Harris matchup. I think Tobias, there's a hole on the other side for whoever's trying to defend Toby, and he can get a mismatch that he wants, and from there he can lick his chops and abuse whoever comes his way. He really can. He was 15 of 29, 2 of 5 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line. Only 2 turnovers, 37 points. Ridiculous. Dwight Howard, by the way, he had 18 minutes. He was minus 13, just to put it in perspective with the plus minus. Shake Milton, 10 minutes, minus 14. So I don't know what to do with some of these bench pieces. I would imagine that Doc Rivers is going to give them another opportunity. I'm sure Furkan's going to get another chance. I'm sure Shake Milton's going to continue to get run because you can kind of get away with that in this series as a whole. But you win game 1, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. Winning game 1. You shouldn't have expected it to just be this purest form of basketball because, well, quite frankly, this team was off for a little bit of time. They were just practicing on certain things. It takes time to adjust to playoff basketball. It's a different level of physicality. It's a different level of intensity. There's more pressure involved, more TV stuff involved, the interviews, the fans, the intent, everything. The way that the adrenaline kicks, you got to get accustomed again to that adrenaline. It's sort of like when the regular season starts. I'm not saying these guys are nervous when it rolls around in normal times when October starts the year, but there's an adjustment period of game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, that excitement of being in the arena every night and just kind of adjusting your feelings to play in the game and kind of calming yourself down and getting into the flow. And then game 52, where it's like, all right, here we go. We're 52 games in. Let's just keep grinding away. And with the playoffs, you just have to get accustomed to the feel of what it means again to play in a game where the bar is higher and the level of everyone is just amplified by a ton. So we all know it's playoff time. Big stakes, bigger promotions. DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you courtside with the chance to turn $5 into $200. That's 40-1 odds on any basketball game. All you have to do is pick any team that is still in the hunt for the trophy, and if that team wins, you will receive $200 in free credits. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $5 into $200 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if you can claim Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if they do, you can claim $200 in free credits. That's promo code Brodes for a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, new customers only. Wager paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's go to the Anytime Hotline and hear from you, the people, after this win.
Let me just say this first off. I apologize to Tobias Harris for any type of slander I threw towards your way last year. Lord have mercy. I am blessed and glad you are on our team. Because without you, we probably would have lost by at least 15, 20. Because those fouls against Joel Embiid were ridiculous. These refs today on both sides were horrific. Just like travels not being called, obvious fouls being called, but then the bad fouls being called. It was horrific, but we pulled through. Fantastic in the third quarter. Fantastic defense from Matisse, from Ben, Seth Curry actually picking it up in the second half. All around, it was a whole team effort in the second half to try to slow down Beal and Westbrook, which I think we did pretty well. Beal and Westbrook are get their own, but we pulled through. I still want a little bit more from Ben, but I'm happy what he provided us today with defense, 15 rebounds, 15 assists. But overall, I like the game. Joel Embiid with 30, getting the thing done, and I think the next game is going to be a whole different story.
Oh, it is. It is. Teams are going to make their adjustments. I wonder, will Doc River throw back Danny Green on Russell Westbrook and have Ben Simmons start on Bradley Beal? Or to throw a different little hiccup in here, maybe the Wizards are planning for it to stay the same, so they try and produce this counterattack to it to get easier looks or to get different baskets or something of that nature. And then here comes Doc Rivers throwing the counter to your counter before you're even able to counter. Or you go with the mentality of, why change anything? This is going to work. Ben Simmons is your best defender. But you've seen this team, the Sixers, utilize Ben as the roamer on Russell Westbrook in the past. But that's when Bradley Beal dropped his 60. To be fair, the Sixers still won that basketball game. So it's not like that didn't work at all. There was some positivity to it. But I'm just curious to see how the Sixers play it from their angle. All right, so here's the thing with Bradley Beal. He scored 33 points. He shot 15 of 23. I'm sorry, my one monitor is a little too far away. 13 of 23, 33 points. He wasn't horrendous. You could tell that he got frustrated at times and all. But my point is this. He was making big shots at times. He was making strong, aggressive moves at times. I think they did everything they possibly could. I think Bradley Beal, based off of the circumstances, Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, do they have more in them? Sure, but I think that would be devaluing, I should say, what the Sixers do. There's a reason why he had 33, shot 13 of 23, which isn't horrendous, but there's a reason why that happened, because the Sixers make you uncomfortable, because the Sixers can swarm you, because the Sixers do have a defensive effort that can't be matched and is hard for you, and you got to earn it. You might get your buckets, but it's going to take a lot of energy for you to do it, and that's why I go back to Game 3, Game 4. If it's going to take maximum effort, and you're going to get abused, and you're going to get tired, and you will get fatigued, and it'll just run you down and wear you out, by Game 3 or 4, you look at it that way. It's sort of like, to an extent, if you talk about a bullpen in baseball, right? You play a 3-game series. If you have to go heavy in your bullpen Game 1, that's going to matter in Game 2, and that's going to matter in Game 3, and that can change the outcome of the entire series, because you might have to rely, if your starting pitchers can't go, you're going to have to rely on that. It's a little different, but it's the same process here, where if you have to rely so heavily on these guys night in and night out and drill so many possessions in their hands and force them to go get buckets, and they're battling one-on-one with Ben. And then, finally, Ben's, Matisse Thybulle. Oh, man, this might be even worse because it's different and it's unique, but it's so quick with the hands, and they're pests and they're annoying and nonstop. That they constantly drill you over and over again in that area. And then what do you know? By Game 3, you're just defeated, right? You're deflated, you're pissed off, you're emotionally beat, and things of that nature. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you with Tobias. I think it was reasonable to be critical of his other performances, but he dug real deep. He dug real deep internally with himself this offseason. We could talk about Doc all we want, about how much he has helped, and the addition of Doc Rivers, and just there's a relationship, okay? There's a connection between those two where they know one another. They have a good vibe. That's how this league works sometimes. You just have that meshing relationship. They have that. As much as that matters, and that's a huge role here, I don't want to discredit what Tobias Harris done internally, and when he looks himself in the mirror and became a better version, and he said, I'm going to do this. Fuck what everybody says about me. Fuck what everybody thinks about me. I'm better than what I showed, and I'm going to make sure you put respect on my name. There's a lot of credit that goes to Doc, and deservingly so, but I don't think we're giving enough credit to Tobias Harris, the player himself, for looking at himself in the offseason, applying so much to his game, and the confidence in elevating way higher than we ever could have imagined, because this was a special game. This wasn't just a good game. This wasn't just a great game. This was a special game by Tobias Harris. So kudos to him, man, because he deserves a lot of respect after this one. All right, here we go.
Kind of a game that I thought it might be with the Sixers. You know, you had the layoff. You have the Wizards guards with Westbrook and Beal that are able to exploit guys like Curry and Green defensively. But you gutted it out thanks to a great performance by Tobias Harris and some solid D at the end. I hate to rain on the parade, but I got to focus on Ben Simmons for a minute. Look, The guy is very talented. I mean, great defensive player, great passer. I don't want to, shortchange him on those things. But, bro, 0 for 6 at the foul line in the playoffs as a primary ball handler is unacceptable. You expect that from a Dwight Howard, but Simmons has got to start hitting his free throws. Luckily, it didn't cost them today, but it may cost them at some point in the playoffs.
I'll be honest, I couldn't agree more with you about Ben Simmons. I was on 97.5 The Fanatic after the game was over. I hosted the post-game show, and I was getting ripped apart by the Ben Simmons stands because I acknowledged the flaw. And it bothers me so much that it's either one way or the other. It's either you love everything and you can't be critical, or you think he sucks and he brings nothing to the table. While I think he was phenomenal in so many areas, because he was phenomenal in so many areas, there has been an issue with this team over the last handful of years. Granted, last season it was weird. He was injured. The team was in the bubble, yada, yada, yada. But 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Ben Simmons was such a liability for this team late in the fourth quarter, and you're seeing it again. And you're a 1 seed playing an 8th seed. You might not have it come back to bite you in the ass against the 8th seed, but it doesn't mean that that's not something that we should not acknowledge. It should not slide under the radar. It should not be mentioned. It has to be discussed. So all the Ben Simmons stands were like, Brodes, why are you constantly saying this? Well, because it matters. It matters. Then I would get the morons that said this guy sucks and did nothing tonight. I can't believe he only had 6 points. And I go to, well, the 15 assists matter. And the 8 offensive boards matter. And the defense matters. So I'm stuck in the middle, and I either sound like a hater or I sound like a lover, depending on who I'm talking to. But if you objectively look at the situation, both can be true. He was strong in about 85% of his game. The 15% that he wasn't strong in can possibly be the downfall of this team. And we expect players to grow and develop every year. And we are now X amount of years into his career. And the same issue that happened a handful of years back has not had any sort of projection moving forward. There's nothing moving forward on this timeline of the Ben Simmons growth, and that should be a discussion. Just because you win, it does not mean that what did happen that you can talk about, it doesn't deserve any sort of debate, or it doesn't deserve any sort of discussion. It absolutely does. You can discuss the win, and you can say that this is great, and this is a great spot to be in. You handled adversity well. It was not the easiest game to win. You had to make clutch shots late. You had to have a huge third quarter. You had to have a big fourth quarter. Tobias had to hold you in it as long as possible when everybody was missing their three-point shots. With that being said, it matters that Ben Simmons was struggling to that level. And if you don't think that's the case, well, then shame on you.
Call me overcritical. The Sixers got the win, but you just have this feeling that it could have been so much better. They need to clean up the free throw shooting. They got out-rebounded, granted only by 1, but, nevertheless, it just could have been so much better.
Sure, it could have been better. I don't anticipate this being what the team is going to show you all playoff long. I think you went up against an 8 seed. You probably a little bit emotionally and mentally was thinking like, hey, we are the 1 seed, they're the 8 seed. Whether that's right or wrong, that's probably reality. In terms of the rebounding and all, a lot of theirs were defensive rebounds in that 41-40 battle that they did beat you by 1. The Sixers had 13 offensive rebounds, though. I didn't really have that much of an issue with some of the glass. They just didn't, when you look at they had more shots. They did have 5 more shots. The rebounds, that wasn't really a storyline for me specifically. But, yeah, look, I think that it could have been sharper. I think you will see that happen and that somewhat occur as they play more games, 2, 3, 4 playoff games, and you get into rhythm and you just get used to the feel of everything surrounding these moments. I think you'll just naturally get better play, better three-point shooting. This was a night where 1 for 11, you were really starting out on the wrong foot. You scored a lot of points in the paint early. Bang, 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 just scoring points in the paint and getting flow there. Once you started branching out and Embiid was popping a couple of threes, we're like, hold on a second, Joel. Let's not get too carried away. Let's not take too many threes. And then once they got into a groove and they started to, make their shots, it all shifted and went into the direction of the Sixers, which is somewhat inevitable, right? They are the better and deeper team. Before we head out of here, my friends at D. Simone Jewelers, they are the best in the business. I went to them for my fiance's engagement ring. I went back for Christmas for a necklace. I went back for her birthday for earrings. They have everything. You name it. They're the best in the business. They're a family-owned business with 40-plus years of experience. They moved from Jewelers Row to Haddonfield, New Jersey. They do not use sale tactics. They just show you options, and they educate their customers, and they treat you like family. D. Simone Jewelers customizes and manufactures every ring they make from start to finish on location. And because of that, they're able to beat competitors' prices. I've sent so many family members and friends in their direction. I constantly get back the same reaction. Wow, they're unbelievable, Brodes. And you'll know exactly what I mean when you go in there and you tell them that Brodes sent you. Their phone number and their website is down below in the description. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.